In your time at Swarthmore, you became part of this community and the Swarthmore story. And that connection is only enhanced once you graduate, leave campus, and then return to revisit old traditions and make them new again. In that spirit, it is my very great pleasure to introduce our 2025 Alumni Collection speaker, Suzanne Durrell, from the class of 1975. Suzanne graduated from Swarthmore with a BA in political science, sociology, and anthropology, and she's a 1978 cum laude graduate of Georgetown University Law Center. Suzanne co-founded the Whistleblower Law Collaborative LLC, a Boston law firm that represents clients under federal and state whistleblower programs. Hers is one of the preeminent whistleblower practices in the country. Its clients have helped the government recover almost $7 billion. Taxpayers Against Fraud named her and her co-founder 2017 Lawyers of the Year for, quote, an extraordinarily successful year in careers devoted to fighting fraud. Suzanne served as an assistant U.S. attorney and chief civil division in the U.S. Attorney's Office, Boston, as a deputy associate attorney general at the U.S. Department of Justice, and received the Attorney General's Award for Exceptional Service, the highest award given by the department. Suzanne was also an assistant attorney general for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, an associate at the law firm of Hill and Barlow, and during law school served on the staff of U.S. Senator Patrick J. Leahy. Please join me in welcoming Suzanne Durrell.
Good morning. Thank you, President Smith, for that very kind introduction and for the invitation to speak here, and also for your leadership in a very difficult time. It is truly an honor and a privilege to stand here. 50 years ago, nearly to this day, I stood in the amphitheater receiving my Swarthmore degree. It remains one of the proudest moments of my life. I was destined for Georgetown University Law School with a passion for law and justice. Swarthmore had changed my life, and I was off to change the world. I don't know why I developed my interest in law and justice, but I do know when. I grew up in a small town, Shelburne, Vermont. We often recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Its final 3 words, justice for all, spoke to me from a very young age. My first memorable foray into justice came when I was about 5 years old. I donned a cowgirl hat, and I had my boots, and I had a holster and a cap gun, and I had a badge. And I rode around town on my hobby horse, and law and justice were very simple. There were bad guys and good guys, and I caught the bad guys. Soon, I was watching Perry Mason on television. Now there was a courtroom, and a whole cast of characters, not just the sheriff. There was also a judge, and a prosecutor, and a defendant, and Perry as defense counsel. To the sheriff and the prosecutor, it was clear who was the bad guy. But Perry would reveal the truth using the rule and the rules of law. This opened my eyes. So I set my sights on becoming a lawyer. But in my junior year of high school, my lofty dream ran into a bitter reality. My father lost his job, and our family began a long, painful, downward spiral into very difficult times, financially, emotionally, and in other ways. I had no money for college other than what I earned. My guidance counselor urged me to apply to Swarthmore, a college with an endowment that funded need-blind admission. I had never heard of it. I applied, I was admitted, obviously, and most importantly, I attended. And I attended because I was offered full tuition, room and board, plus $500 for books. And in case you're wondering, as you probably are, in 1971, that came to about $4,500. My mother is 101 years old. And when I told her about speaking here today, she excitedly said to me, "You must be sure to tell them that I can still see you running down the road from our mailbox, waving that letter from Swarthmore in the air." Swarthmore was just what I needed. With its natural beauty and its teachers, coaches, friends, and the great class of 1975 who challenged me, believed in me, and supported my dreams. And with its Quaker roots, justice had a home here at Swarthmore. But there were injustices. I focused my attention on equal rights for women. As female athletes, we experienced gross inequities between the men's and women's athletic programs. Along with the female faculty in the department, we pressed for change. As female students, we tried to carve out room for women's ideas and accomplishments in our courses, and a group of us founded the Alice Paul Women's Center. At Georgetown Law School, I was, of course, immersed in the study of law. But through its innovative clinical programs, I also had a chance to represent real people seeking justice. I learned that justice and the law do not always see eye to eye. After graduating, I joined a Boston law firm. But a few years later, I found my true calling, first with the Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and then with the United States Department of Justice. At the Justice Department, I served under 4 attorneys general, 3 Republican and 1 Democrat. At that time, administrations and priorities changed, but the core mission of the department did not. And that core mission was equal justice under law. For 8 years, one of those attorneys general was Janet Reno. Her motto was, believe it or not, justice for all. I was hearing those same 3 words from the Pledge of Allegiance, and they inspired me again, and so did she. She was remarkable. My job was to prosecute fraud against the government. Our primary tool was the False Claims Act. Under this law, someone who defrauds the government and is caught owes the government treble damages and civil penalties. And if you stop and think about all the ways the government spends money, from Medicare and Medicaid to defense to disaster relief to infrastructure to research and so on, you can see how important this law is. But this law also incentivizes private persons or whistleblowers who know about fraud against the government to bring a case to the government. If the case is successful, the government pays the whistleblower a reward. When I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston, we investigated close to 100 whistleblower cases. Our largest single recovery was a then record $385 million recovered in 5 whistleblower cases brought against a large dialysis company. It took 6 years. From this, I saw the value of whistleblowers firsthand. With their insider knowledge, they were alerting us to frauds that we were not finding on our own. They and their counsel were changing the playing field of justice. So I left the Justice Department in 2002, and I teamed up with a like-minded former assistant U.S. attorney to represent whistleblowers. We would seek justice for them and for the public, the taxpayers. I would be my own boss and have more time with my family. Whistleblowers aren't seeking to be heroes. Usually, they're seeking to right wrongs they feel they cannot, in good conscience, stay silent about. Often, they raise their concerns internally with their employer, and they are ignored. Often, they are retaliated against, humiliated, and wrongly accused. They experience job loss, blacklisting, fear, anxiety, and other mental health issues, bankruptcy, divorce. They lose colleagues, they lose friends, they lose their identity. With their cases under seal for years, they are isolated. So we seek justice for them, to help them feel heard and vindicated, to try to set the record straight, to seek to have the wrong righted by the government, and to deter future misconduct by that company or another, to make sure they receive an appropriate award, and to be protected against retaliation. There is no guarantee we will succeed, and if we do, it will take years. And together with them, we also seek justice for the public, like all of you. Patients, military service members, consumers, taxpayers, and the companies who are playing by the rules. To return money to the public fisc so programs like Medicare and Medicaid survive. To keep Big Pharma honest about the price of prescription drugs. To ensure military equipment is safe and functions properly. To keep contaminated drugs from reaching patients. For years, as you can see, I was focused on external justice, justice for others, and in society at large. But there came a time when I also needed to focus on internal justice, for myself, for my inner world, and that time was 2014. This was long overdue. My trauma history dated back to childhood. While at Swarthmore, my parents divorced and my father died unexpectedly. There were times I was in dire straits, but there was no Be Well program. There was no mental health counseling. The concept of well-being and of the holistic student experience was decades away. Later traumas followed, like 9/11, like the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. By 2014, I was having panic attacks, anxiety, anger, grief, guilt, and other symptoms of what we now understand to be post-traumatic stress disorder. My inner world was in turmoil, almost like I was at war with myself and scattered in pieces. Change is inevitable, no matter your age or your reunion class. Change is coming for you every day. It can be scary, it can be unfair. Sometimes you see it coming, sometimes it blindsides you. Sometimes it happens in the blink of an eye, and sometimes it creeps in slowly. You may lose a parent, a child, a partner, a best friend. You may lose a marriage, a job, a way of life, a home, or even a homeland. Perhaps, worst of all, you may lose yourself, unless you respond to change in a healthy way. I sought long overdue professional treatment for complex PTSD. I had a dedicated and talented therapist, and because Swarthmore had equipped me for lifelong learning, I also used self-help. I gleaned insight and wisdom from many sources that I had never studied here: religion, philosophy, biology, history, I did study that, medicine, psychology, music, art, writing, poetry, and literature. I learned about the mind-body connection, so critical to healing for survivors of trauma. And I nurtured this connection through nature, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and massage. I practiced gratitude, compassion, and kindness to others and to myself. It was the hardest work I have ever done, but gradually I found my inner justice. I was whole, I was at peace, I was well. In the words of a Taylor Swift song, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. Thank you. This is actually the first time I've spoken publicly about that topic. Well, change doesn't just come for people, it comes for countries and societies. And this past winter, I found myself despairing about the law, the rule of law, and justice. Then spring came, and like the crocuses, signs of hope sprouted. We celebrated the 250th anniversary of the start of the American Revolution, and the spirit of those patriots spoke, and my spirit was reignited. On May 1st, I attended a Law Day rally for lawyers on Boston Common. Law Day is a national day established in 1958 to celebrate the rule of law. The local bar associations invited us to renew our oaths as attorneys. We swore to uphold the Massachusetts and the United States Constitutions. But first, we recited the Pledge of Allegiance. As I stood there with my hand over my heart at the end of the pledge, I thought of Kierkegaard's saying that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. I realized that looking backwards, those three words at the end of the pledge, justice for all, had guided my life forwards from the time I was a little girl. But you don't have to be a lawyer to work towards justice for all. You just have to care about the dignity and worth and the rights and happiness of your fellow human beings on this planet. Where is the justice in people lacking access to adequate food, housing, health care, or mental health treatment? Where is the justice in children being bombed and starved, losing limbs and losing parents in war? Where is the justice in someone being so scarred by trauma that they cannot fulfill their potential as human beings and have a chance at a whole and happy life? Where is the justice in people living in a toxic environmental environment? Where is the justice in a woman suffering from lack of reproductive health care? And where is the justice in a person being snatched off the street or from their home with no process, let alone due process, and being held in prison? Where is the justice in cutting off life-changing, life-saving aid to needy countries? Where is the justice in denying disaster relief to victims of wildfires, floods, tornadoes, and hurricanes? Where is the justice in stopping grants for medical and scientific research that could lead to breakthroughs in treatments for cancer and other diseases? And where is the justice in raising taxes on institutions of higher education depriving worthy students of the financial aid they need to attend college. I could go on till the cows come home, and so could you. The consequences of injustice in this world rain down upon us every day. We will have no peace in this world without justice. The Quakers know this. Injustice creates inner turmoil, and inner turmoil in turn creates external conflicts. If you want peace, work for justice. This was the title of Pope Paul VI's invitation to celebrate World Peace Day in 1972 when I was a freshman here. The invitation said, and I quote, "The true source of peace is rooted in a sincere feeling for your fellow man, and that feeling is called justice." The invitation to celebrate peace resounds as an invitation to practice justice. So I invite each of us to practice justice, as I know many of you do already. And please do in whatever way you can, for the common good. If you are a writer, write. If you are an artist, create. If you're an engineer or architect or carpenter, build. If you're a healer, heal. If you're a scientist, discover. If you're a reporter, report. If you are a teacher, teach. If you're a baker, bake. If you are an organizer, organize. And if you are a leader, lead. Give time, give money, give ideas, give support, give a smile, and bring a little music into someone else's life. Be kind, be compassionate, be helpful, and stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. And along the way, please remember to practice justice for yourself. Take care of yourself, your whole self. Be well. Thank you, Swarthmore, for changing my life. I am forever grateful. And the world needs Swarthmore now more than ever. So let us go forward together to change the world. Together, let us rise to the challenge of justice for all. Thank you.